This is Comic Geek Speak, episode 1904, Comic Talk. Welcome to Comic Geek Speak. I'm Ian Levestein.
I'm Adam Murdo.
I'm Chris Eberly, Aquaman!
Finally, I get to play with Amigo on camera.
Oh, man. That definitely made you incredibly happy there, sir. I feel like that's like years in the making. Murd gets to play with an Amiga.
Amigos make everything better.
Yes, that is very true.
I never have toys easy to hand when we record these things.
How does
that sounded so forlorn just then.
How does he get those wonderful toys? Well, welcome one and all to the show, and it is indeed a comic talk. Hey, guess what? We here in studio again. We're totally wearing the same clothes, but it's a different day. You may not notice that, but it's totally a different day. And we're it's been a while since we've done a comic talk in person, and I'm very, very happy to do so with you fine folks. And you fine folks out there in the digital world, help make this happen as well. So patreon.com/Comic Geek Speak. We thank you so much for all that continued support of the show. For as little as $1 single a month, you can join up at the Patreon and occasionally get some extra goodies and audio and what have you. When we remember to, we might even ask you for picks for previews, and hopefully going to be able to do that this month. If not, we'll remember to do it next month. But either way, every little bit that you give to the show helps us out. You can also donate the old way at comicgeekspeak.com/donate.php.
We love the old way.
Oh, yes, exactly. For PayPal. Or just frankly, just tell a friend about the show. Tell your cousin, tell your cousin's cousin, tell that guy who has absolutely no relation to you, but is still part of your family, all about us. And iTunes reviews are cool. Any way that you can spread the word about the show, that is greatly, greatly appreciated. So patreon.com/Comic Geek Speak. We thank you so much for that continued support of the show.
Hear, hear.
Alrighty, so to date us a little bit, because this episode will be coming out of about a week or two after we record it, but unfortunately, a day or two before we recorded this, there was a major passing in the world of comic books that we have to address, and that, of course, is the one and only John Romita Sr. John Romita Sr., one of the most legendary artists, period.
Absolutely.
Famous for the, very first appearance of Mary Jane. So many iconic, exactly. That very super duper iconic, Green Goblin image of the Goblin holding Peter, along, the glider and what have you that we're displaying here on screen. Love that toy. Absolutely love it. Sorry. That very, very nice statue that also happens to be a toy. But yeah, famous for so many things, over the years. Of course, his son, John Romita Jr., still working in the business. But very, very sad, to have lost John Romita Sr., but was alive for 92 years. It was a wonderful run for an amazing, amazing artist.
I think for me, when I think about artists who've affected me throughout my comic book reading life, I mean, he's way at the top of the list. I mean, for many people, his Spider-Man is Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we think about, the transition from Ditko to Romita Sr., which, if you look at some of the letters pages at the time, a lot of people were kind of shaken by that because Romita talked about, he tried to sort of make it seem like he was seamlessly moving away from Ditko. So he was trying to incorporate Ditko's style to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, he made the character his own. When we think about Spider-Man's supporting cast, that's all Romita. I mean, he really brought the supporting cast to the fore.
Mm-hmm.
As Ian mentioned, his Mary Jane is, of course, the stuff of legend.
Of course.
He did introduce Gwen Stacy, but when we think about the look of Gwen Stacy, it's John Romita Sr.
Mm-hmm.
Again, his years in romance comics, I mean, the way he would render women in Peter's world. The joke was he made everybody in Peter's world more better looking.
Mm-hmm.
Peter was more hip. He had nice turtlenecks. It was
the motorcycle.
Yeah, the motorcycle. But Romita Sr., I mean, I've read interviews where he really struggled with the Marvel method. It was hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
But his collaboration with Lee, I mean, when it comes to Spider-Man, is as important as anything Lee ever did with Kirby. I mean, their run on Spider-Man is legendary. Romita introduced so many different new villains. Again, the amplification of the supporting cast, adding new characters to the supporting cast. Randy Robertson, for example. But also, we shouldn't forget that Romita was, for many years, essentially Marvel's art director.
Yeah.
And he was their go-to guy for designing new characters and new costumes. So, for example, the look of Wolverine, John Romita Sr. The Punisher, John Romita Sr.
Yep.
Luke Cage, John Romita Sr.
I remember at that Marvel exhibit that we all happened to see when it was in Philadelphia.
Yes.
They had those initial sketches for the Punisher on display, where they went through a bunch of different names that already existed in Marvel Comics, like the Executioner and a couple other things. But it was Romita Sr.'s initial sketch for the Punisher costume.
A lot of great, characters from the Bronze Age. He designed many of the great covers you see in the 70s. For example, where new characters introduced, that's all Romita designs. He trained a lot of up and coming artists who were dubbed Romita's, I think Raiders, if I remember correctly. And again, his work on Amazing Spider-Man, like Ian right now is up the classic cover from issue 67. Romita did so many striking, evocative covers in the Silver into the early Bronze Age for Spidey that are legendary. I mean, one of the most famous, of course, Spider-Man No More. But there's so many, and the dynamism of his covers, the cityscapes he would draw, but the way he would also draw, background characters, apartments, like the interiors of rooms. People were in such a great attention to detail, like furniture, even like the coffee bean. Really one of the great illustrators in the history of the medium. By all accounts, a lovely man. I met him briefly at a show in New York many years ago. He drew a Mary Jane sketch for me, which unfortunately was later damaged terribly in a flood in my first store. But actually drew a Gwen Stacy sketch too, which was lost in that flood. But and when you think about Marvel promotional art, he was all over that. Like even today, like you'll see Marvel merchandising for different, toys or other ephemera. A lot of it's Romita Senior art. So it just, one of the true giants of the medium. And when it comes to Spider-Man, I guess you could say, besides Ditko, probably the most important Spider-Man artist.
Yeah, and it's kind of 1 and 2 when you think about it, because while Ditko did create the character and had so many iconic, images like
and the Rogues Gallery,
of course, the Rogues Gallery. I feel like, and I don't mean this to slight Ditko, I feel like that when Romita Sr. came on the book, it brought a lot of those characters to the next level. Just the kinetic nature of his artwork, the expressions on everyone's faces. Actually, you could feel the drama that was taking place on the page every single time. And not even just on like those, Spider-Man No More pieces, but just on like regular conversational pieces.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
People were actually laughing when they were laughing. Like people were quipping when they were quipping. Like it was subtle differences in their faces, but it really went a long way. And I feel like Romita Sr. was the first real person to truly capture that, not only in Spider-Man, but at Marvel at the time. It really was something.
And a story I'd like to actually do a deep dive in this story one day. Spectacular Spider-Man Magazine #2, 1968, I think, which is a classic Green Goblin story. But that issue, I think, particularly captures his powers as a penciler. Also, he painted the cover to it as well. And many of you have seen that cover. It's a classic Green Goblin cover. But there's great scenes in there of like Peter and Gwen walking and talking, and the gang, Harry and MJ, and just. Again, for many people, when we think about Spider-Man and, like the look of Spider-Man and a lot of his supporting cast and villains, it's John Romita Sr., rest in peace, ring-a-ding Romita Sr., or Stan would also call him Jazzy Johnny Romita, which apparently John Romita Sr.'s mothers did not take kindly to. He called him Jazzy.
Yeah, great stuff. Meredith, thoughts?
I can't come close to the tribute Chris has already paid to the man and his work. Yep, he was synonymous with Bronze Age Spider-Man, and he shepherded him through the crucial second stage in his evolution, proved that there was life for Spider-Man and his milieu beyond Ditko. And yeah, that's just, Chris just knows a lot more about the guy than I do. That's all there is to it. I can't deny his importance, but yep, Chris has already said it all.
There's the same near Baltimore Comic Con where I tell the story of sitting behind Stan Lee at the Harveys that year.
With a woman on each arm?
With a woman on each arm. Stan went up to then present a Lifetime Achievement Award to John Romita Jr. along with John Romita Sr. So Stan and Romita Sr. presenting it to Romita Jr. And that was one of the few times in my life I got to see Romita Sr. in person. And I really do cherish that, not only for that, but it was, I think, that very same show that they had an exclusive Toon Tumbler of Mary Jane.
I've seen that Toon Tumbler.
The Face of Tiger, you just hit the jackpot.
Daniel had it and I accidentally broke it. I'm sorry, Daniel.
I have one of those in Stone Harbor, and every time that I have you all down for CGS by the Sea, Danielle makes it a point to drink out of that Toon Tumbler.
And funny enough, my father broke mine, and I immediately went on eBay and made him pay for a new one. and I still have that one to this very day.
Justice.
Yep, exactly. I think I also have or at least maybe at one point there was roaming around. There was a Gwen Stacy one also.
There is. I have it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'll love you forever, Peter. It's a very forlorn cup image.
Yeah, but definitely.
I love you, Peter, forever.
I raised this Snapple elements in Mr. Romita Sr.'s honor.
I read my local Made in Reading icy lemonade tea.
I finished my Wawa pineapple lemonade, but I'll pretend to raise it in J.R. Sr.'s memory. He was 93 years old. Just for anyone to live that long a life.
Yeah. Let me see if I can bring up Romita Jr.'s Instagram post that he had about his father, but it was very, very loving. And the fact that we have, Romita Jr., who's had, very much his own illustrious career.
Absolutely.
Since then. But I'd have to log in order to see it. But you know what? Actually, let me try to bring it up on the phone. But I know that over the years, and actually, funny story. I'm pretty sure that technically Romita Jr. is not actually a junior. I think he has a different middle initial than his father, if I remember correctly. But his quote unquote stage name is John Romita Jr. because it's they're basically the same name minus the middle initial. But let's see if I can bring that up here. Here we go, John Romita Jr. All right, here we go. His words. I say with a heavy heart, my father, John Romita, passed away peacefully in his sleep this Monday morning. He's a legend in the art world, and it would be my honor to follow in his footsteps. Please keep your thoughts and condolences here out of respect for my family. And the image itself, I can at least bring that image up here, is of John holding some Spider-Man artwork there. And nobody did it better. I especially liked when the two of them collaborated together, which happened on a few instances where Romita Sr. would ink over or color and ink over Romita Jr. And that was something special in and of itself. So very much going to miss Romita Sr. And as is the case with any artist, when we lose them, that's the best part, is that their art lives on, and they're always going to be in the
certainly will
echelon that way, the way it goes. So very, very sad to see it happen, but happy to have him for as long as we did. I'm sure they'd probably bring him up at least a little bit in that new Stan Lee documentary as well.
Yes, I'm looking forward to watching that.
Yep. So any of you who haven't checked that out, it's on Disney Plus. Please do indeed check that out when you get the opportunity. Some other comic news before we get into actual, further actual comic book conversation. Those Avengers movies.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard about this. Please educate us.
Well, you see, there's movies about the Avengers.
Fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. And the Avengers movies are being delayed. And as is most of Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 5 and 6 are also being delayed. Both Avengers movies were moved back an entire year. However, Deadpool got bumped up.
Oh.
So I guess that must be far enough in production where they were able to fill the gap a little bit. But it looks like Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars are now set for release on May 1st, 2026, while Avengers Secret War is slated for May 1st, 2027.
Wow. So what's the Is it the writer's strike? Is that part of it?
Part of
Part of
it.
it.
Yeah, definitely
Mhm.
part of it. Because they can't make a movie if they can't write it.
Right.
So that's kind of a stumbling block
Mhm.
that a lot of people are dealing with right now. Unfortunately, pay your writers, people.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yes.
You know, I've been following the Benson sisters on their on the
Yep.
picket line,
Yep.
and
Because
it's
they walk that line. And
yep. Yes.
Is there another reason besides the strike?
I mean, it's that, and also, I mean, they haven't said it, but Jonathan Majors may be a factor, just because of all the controversy surrounding his actions and whatnot. I mean, the sexual misconduct allegations that were against Jonathan Majors, that they may very well be dealing with, and unfortunately, there's also a sexual misconduct allegation against the man who played Namor in Wakanda
really?
Forever.
I just saw that the other day.
Yeah,
Jeez Louise.
Marvel was not having a good couple of months, and especially as they try to get these next couple of phases going.
Well, to be fair, have these allegations been proven, or are they?
I mean, they're not great either way.
Okay.
All we know is that as of now, Jonathan Majors has not been removed from his role, and he will continue on as Kang, unless said otherwise. Loki season 2 has been filmed in full.
Right.
Mhm.
So we know he's at least going to be appearing as Kang in that.
For sure.
Whether or not they make any changes later on and, you know, through machinations of the timeline or whatever, all of a sudden he looks like somebody else.
That's true.
You know, could certainly happen.
And the actor playing Namor.
They never said whether or not he was going to be in anything after this. But yeah, there was unfortunately an allegation that came out against him very recently. A female coworker of his on a previous project came out with an allegation. But we haven't heard anything at all about whether or not Namor was going to be in the future films.
You would assume he's going to be because they set him up as laying out a strategy for dealing with Wakanda, and plus the Fantastic Four are going to be made.
Exactly.
I mean,
it is.
Yep. I mean, not to mention the fact that there's also been like nebulous will they, won't they, on whether or not we're even going to see more Shuri in the Marvel universe. Because I know that that there was an interview that came out with her recently where Letitia Wright was basically like, well, no one's really said anything to me as to whether or not I'm going to continue to have a role in the Marvel universe moving forward. It's a weird time. It's a really weird time. As these get delayed, questions come around as just how well planned out these upcoming phases actually are, and whether or not they're just being cagey, or whether Marvel really just has to think about whether or not they have a solid plan for these future movies, or are they just winging it?
And you'd think that Disney would have learned from the Star Wars trilogy of a few years ago that going into these things without a game plan is not a good idea.
Agreed entirely. Yeah, because that third Star Wars movie, you know what I think about that third Star Wars movie. No bueno.
I must admit, it's weaker in rewatchables.
I'm happy to hear those words come out of your mouth, Chris.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yes. No matter what anybody thought of the Last Jedi. I mean, it's whether you liked it or didn't like it. The Rise of Skywalker didn't please anybody.
Yeah. Captain America: Brave New World was moved back a few months to the summer, and both Blade and Fantastic Four have been shifted as well. However, Deadpool 3 will now fill the May 2024 slot. So
exciting.
Yeah, we are getting
with Wolverine.
Yes, with Wolverine, which means we're getting that in the year, folks.
It's great.
It's mid-production at this point. I believe its production was halted, however, due to the writer's strike. So they need to finish it one way or the other. Whether it's completely done filming, I don't know. But shows that were mid-production that have since stopped filming include Penguin over at Max, the place to watch HBO. Max, parentheses, HBO, and parentheses, and Daredevil, which was mid-production.
I'm really looking forward to that.
That they had to also halt production on due to the writer's strike because they weren't done filming and they didn't have full scripts for their episodes.
Well, like you said, and this is a problem we see throughout our society when it comes to corporate power. You got to pay people true living wages.
Yes.
That's come on.
Not to mention that as technology moves itself along. Chris and I had a pretty good conversation about AI in the car heading up here.
I cherish our drives out here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. As do I. And we were talking about how writers want to make it perfectly clear that AI is a tool and that it's not a replacement. And that a lot of the studios seem to be thinking that it's a way that they could get by without hiring a full writing staff, that it could fill the gaps and try to, for smaller scenes, maybe we could just have the AI write that. And like, the difference between AI and a human being is that AI is a tool. AI helps. AI does not think. And therefore, AI cannot be original. It's working off of what already exists. We've seen that with AI art. And we know a bunch of artists, friends of ours, have been rallying against people who have been, creating this brand new AI art, which just takes established art and changes the colors a little bit and changes the backgrounds and then calls it something new. And then the person doesn't get credited for their art in the end. Like it's the same thing with writing. You're not getting credited for the words, but it's basing its words on your words. So it's an issue. Whether or not the studios are going to be able to actually come to an agreement that makes sense for the writers, I don't know how long this thing's going to last at this point, guys, because they're pretty damn far apart. And I want the writers to get what they deserve. Like, I want them to get fair wages, and I want them to not have to worry about being replaced by the Terminator. So
that's how you get Skynet.
Exactly. And do you want Skynet? You do not want Skynet. Enough said. All right. But it's a weird couple of months. And yeah, we might be getting plenty of great shows soon, like Secret Invasion's coming. We've got, I think, movie wise, the trailer for Blue Beetle is out, Flash is in theaters. We got a wealth of all the superhero stuff. It's going to dry up pretty darn fast if nobody's there to write stuff. Well, let's remember that and think about that for a minute.
Then people could read more books.
Oh yeah, exactly. But you saw not to talk about the Flash, since we're going to talk about that on a future episode. But you saw the trailer for Blue Beetle when you went to see the Flash. What'd you think?
The trailer looked immensely fun. I mean, I really like that actor from I forgot his name. Forgive me. From
Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm. I think he's well tailor-made for the role. It just the whole. I mean, the armor looks great. It's patterned on the modern Blue Beetle. It had a light feel to it. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Xolo Maridueña is his name.
Okay.
Xolo with an X.
Yes. Xolo Maridueña. Yep. And I mean, George Lopez is in this movie. Raul Trujillo is in this movie. It does look like a lot of fun, honestly. And of course, Harvey Guillén is in it. Guillermo. Good old Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. That makes me a happy camper. I've seen the trailers for it also, and I think it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll certainly go to the theaters to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, I love the look of the armor.
Wow, yeah, that's right out of the comic.
Sure is.
Absolutely.
That came out great.
Yep. It doesn't look over stylized either. So, like it could have easily looked like, mid 90s Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Well, but what's great about it, it's a good point, Ian, is that, because a lot of it is the more subdued bodysuit, you really focus on that breastplate and the image. It's really compelling.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm sure that Shane would be very excited if another Blue Beetle winds up showing up in it.
Yeah, he might.
Yep. Because there is that Booster Gold series coming, so why not have a Ted Kord get introduced so you can get some blue and gold action going on in Blue Beetle?
That's thinking. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's occurred to James Gunn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's certainly possible.
Yeah, I saw that trailer months ago. I remember there was a female villain, and there were a couple of older Blue Beetle costumes in cases in the background of a couple of the shots.
Yes, you are correct. Yeah, which whether or not that's Ted Kord's, Beetle cave or what have you that they're in.
They show his craft too. The
bug. The bug does make an appearance. Yeah. I frankly was just happy that it didn't look like it was just the owl. Not the owl. Night Owl's.
Archimedes is owl ship. Yeah.
Exactly. It looks enough different from it to differentiate itself a little bit. So.
I'm looking forward when we do our review of Flash. I saw it last night. I won't, obviously spoil anything for you fine gentlemen. I'll I'll just say two things.
Mhm.
It's great to see Michael Keaton,
Here.
and God, the movie's long.
I won't spoil anything for the Across the Spider-Verse movie, but all I'll say is it's so good. Okay.
I concur wholeheartedly.
So we've all seen it then?
Yes. Yeah. We have all seen it. We'll discuss it further once
We
Dane is
got
in
a
the
double
mix.
feature coming up.
Yes, we have a you'll hear it here. You'll hear it here, folks. That we're calling it the Multiversal Movie Review, where we'll discuss both the Flash and Across the Spider-Verse. Once we've all seen Flash, we'll throw in Across the Spider-Verse a part of that as well. And I cannot wait to talk about that movie. It is amazing. And our friend Dan Gavosden, once you've seen Across the Spider-Verse, has come out with his Easter egg article for Hollywood Reporter that has over 100 Easter eggs that are
He got it in Hollywood Reporter?
Yes, indeed. Yep. Every Spider-Man movie that comes out, he has an Easter egg article that comes out through the Hollywood Reporter. And
no one's better positioned than him to do that.
You better damn well believe it. He also had a movie review episode with the Filmcast that came out where he discusses Across the Spider-Verse. So we love you, Dan, and definitely read that article because there was a couple of stuff in there that I missed that he pointed out that just made me happy that they found their way in there for different versions of Spider-Man along the way.
Show eventually.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. We've got micro spotlights to do, damn it. So one thing that I want to mention to you guys, so I went to visit the National African American History Museum when I was in DC. And while there, I went to visit their Afrofuturism exhibit.
Mm-hmm.
And on display, a whole bunch of comic book stuff. Bunch of stuff related to both the Black Panther comics and the Black Panther movies were on display. They had costumes from the HBO Watchmen series that were there, which I was super happy to see. So those costumes were really well realized. I got to tell you. I know you've only seen 2 episodes of it.
One.
I got a little further into it than that, but I never did finish it. I think I got like 5 or 6 episodes in.
Okay. Well, they had at least 2 of those. Plus, they had a bunch of the costumes from the Luke Cage Netflix series.
Oh, I love that series.
On display as well. And a bunch of like static images, and honestly, it was a really well realized exhibit that just made my trip to that museum that much more awesome in the end. It's just, I love Afrofuturism just as a concept, just like what they've done with the Wakanda over the years in particular, try to craft that like future style and whatnot. It's just freaking sweet. And then at the, on my other, one of the other things that I got to do was go to the, Museum of American History. And there they had on display one of the Captain America costumes from the movie with Shield, and a whole bunch of Muppets, which would have made Shane very, very happy. They actually had one of the original Kermit puppets.
Oh, the one that was cut out of one of Jim Henson's mother's old coats.
Yep, that would be the one. Yeah, yep. They had that there. Plus, they had a bunch of Sesame Street puppets on display. I think they had an Oscar the Grouch as well as at least one Elmo in there for good measure. Really, just a really cool experience and a lot more pop culture than I was expecting to find there. But
what draws them in. That's what draws them in. They want people to come to the museum.
Exactly, absolutely the case. But had a really, really nice time there, and it's where I got this shirt. This absolutely delightful X-Men shirt that I'm wearing.
It's like a Dave Cockrum X-Men.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I saw it on my way out and I'm like, I don't even care if that's anywhere else. I'm buying it now. And that was the purchase that I made at the American History Museum there. Just Cockrum, baby. Cockrum. Old school art. Yep. Have any of you gotten the chance to watch American Born Chinese?
I have not.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I know I'm talking up a storm here, but I'll end it off with this. Have you read the book?
Actually, I haven't.
Okay. You?
No, I know the story. My sons have read it and loved it. I have not read it yet. I know the story, but
okay. So what I appreciate most about this, and the book itself goes through like 3 different stories. One of them is about a Chinese American boy dealing with his Chinese Americanness, while at the same time a very stereotypical Chinese exchange student comes, and then he has to figure out whether or not he can actually like still be himself while also trying to help out this kid. Plus there's a Journey to the West, Monkey King story involved with it, and a like one or two other stories. They kind of combined the stories of the graphic novel into a piece here, where the foreign exchange student is actually the Monkey King come to Earth, trying to find a source of great power in that before it gets into the wrong hands, to continue to protect the world. And this kid is just trying to be a kid in high school, and he has to deal with the fact.
Enough.
Exactly. He has to deal with the fact that this Chinese exchange student shows up, and he's like, "You're going to help me save the world." And he's like, "I just want to play soccer." And quite literally, everybody from the cast of Everything Everywhere All at Once is in this show. Michelle Yeoh, James Hahn, Short Round from Indiana Jones.
Oh.
He's in it as well. Academy Award winner now in American Born Chinese, and just overall, it's a really well crafted, well-rounded story with some great action scenes and very down to earth, even though they're dealing with like a bunch of like mystical elements thrown in there for good measure. First season's 10 episodes long, and there may very well be a second season.
How's it being received?
Very well, very well. I think it got like a 98%.
Oh, terrific.
And I think it's well worth it personally. So get a chance to check it out.
Your recommendation is enough for me, honey. Although I should read the book first.
You should read the book first. Yes. That's what put Gene Lin Yang on the map. And he's, since then, done tons of stuff for the Avatar universe, for Marvel, for DC. It really did start his career. And it's really well worth the adaptation that it's received. So good stuff.
And speaking of TV, you mentioned that there's a new Stan Lee documentary on Disney Plus.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to watching
there is. Yep. There's that. And like I said, Secret Invasion, and we'll certainly discuss that on our next Comic Talk as well. So you have a lot of books, sir.
I do. I was very excited we do a Comic Talk in person, and I tried to bring as many books as I could that I've been reading.
Well, by all means, what better to Comic Talk than to Comic Talk? So please, Comic Talk away.
I can read the spine of one of the things you have there, Chris, and I'm very excited.
We'll save that for last, Mer, because that's what I'm most excited about.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Let's start with some tomorrows, folks.
Okay.
So, Alter Ego and Back Issue, the latest issues, Alter Ego 181, Back Issue 143, both are tributes to the late, great Neil Adams. And so, they're published. He passed away last year, and their publishing schedules have caught up. And these magazines contain superb overviews of his career and great in-depth interviews with Adams about different facets of his career.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested in Neil Adams' work, he's such an important artist, not only because of the sensibility and the style he brought to the idea of comic book art, to the superhero, with his, riveting, for lack of a better term, realistic renderings of characters. Again, remember, he came out of advertising art. He did the Ben Casey newspaper strip in the 60s for a period of time. So he was already an experienced artist in his 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But that also goes into his very important role as an advocate for creator rights. I mean, this is a man who was clearly very outspoken, not afraid to ruffle feathers. Mm-hmm. We all know that he stood up for Siegel and Schuster to get them credit for the Superman movie from 1978.
Sure.
Among many other stances he took on behalf of creators. But again, nobody does better than Tomorrow's in terms of these two magazines and just really going into the history of one of the most important pencils in the history of the medium.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't recommend these enough if you're interested in Neil Adams. I have been excited for a Superman comic. I can't remember the last time I read Superman on a monthly basis, probably in the 2000s maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But issues 1 through 4 of the Williamson Campbell run have been so fully entertaining. Beautiful artwork. And again, the conceit of the story is that Lex Luthor is in prison by the way, Jamal Campbell. Yeah. Lex Luthor's in prison, but he's insisting that he wants to help Superman do his good deeds in the wider world. And it's great seeing these these two timeless adversaries now working together. Clark is obviously very suspicious of Lex Luthor's motives.
Mm-hmm.
Lex Luthor has turned LexCorp over to Superman with Mercy as like his assistant to, do good deeds, and fight crime and so forth. It's fascinating. I'm really enjoying it. Lois Lane is now the editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm really excited to read a Superman comic, which I haven't followed Superman regularly anyway, but it's been 15 years for me at least.
It's funny now, Merch, since we did the time bubble, whenever I hear Lex, I think, is it a Lex or the Lex?
Next up, as many listeners know, like Shane, I'm a huge Star Trek fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that Cantwell was doing Star Trek Defiant,
yes,
which is Murd.
Yeah.
Murd would be a great starship captain.
Yes.
As the captain.
The USS Time bubble.
Yes. And
make it so.
The flagship title, which it features the return of Benjamin Sisko.
Yes.
Which, as many listeners know, I'm a rabid Deep Space Nine fan, so I was very excited about that. Now, I missed the opening issues, but I did order the hardcover that's coming out, issues 1 through 6. But I said, you know what? I was in my LCS. I'm just going to do something I haven't done in years, pick up 2 series in midstream and just see if I can get a sense.
That is madness, sir.
Luckily,
madness.
I've always been, my mother's maiden name needs off center. So they do have recaps.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped. But what's exciting about these 2 issues is that they're deeply tied into the history of Deep Space Nine. And the ramifications of the Dominion War, of the Cardassians. They also bring in the history of the Klingons here. I wish Shane were here for these. If you're a Star Trek fan, these are awesome. And I'm very excited to go back and get the trades and fill in all the issues I've missed. But I was very impressed with the writers and artists' command of the universe. The art writers on Star Trek are Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing doing superb work and capturing the because they have characters from all the different eras. There's even like a
Kelly and Lansing, wasn't that your choice for
breakout breakthrough talent of 2022?
They're moving it here, that's for sure. And I'm not sure because I'm picking a mid story, but I think there's even a holographic image of Scotty acting as an engineer.
Yes.
So it's great. And it's again, it's
what a cover too.
Yeah.
That is something else. Who's the cover artist on that?
The Star Trek #9, the cover artist is, excuse me. Doesn't say. Where am I missing it?
Well, there's probably several different variants.
Yeah.
That's
could be in the back, maybe.
Let's see. It's J.J. Lendl.
J.J. Lendl. There we go. J.J. Lendl it is.
Yep. There you go. Cover B is what you have there. J.J. Lendl.
Okay.
Cover A is by Mike Fian.
Okay. Well, J.J. Lendl did an amazing cover B.
And this is all lead up to a crossover they're going to do starting in July called the Day of Blood, which apparently a clone of the sort of mythical Klingon Emperor Kahless has returned.
Ooh.
And he started this cult that's incorporating Romulans, Cardassians, Klingons, and among the indoctrinated is Worf's son. So this is a really interesting story. And of course, Sisko has returned from where he was with the what are the name of the Bajoran gods? I can't believe I just brain farted on that.
Oh yeah, I know who you mean.
I'm failing miserably.
Yeah.
The prophets.
Yes.
So this is coming home for me. I think if they had ever done a more Deep Space Nine, this would have been a great story for it. Plus, you've got Data's in it as a captain. Dr. Crusher's there.
Yep.
Paris and I forgot her name. The Klingon from Voyager.
Ooh,
they're in it. It's excellent.
Oh God! Now I'm trying to think of from Voyager or from Enterprise.
No, Voyager, the half Klingon.
Oh, the half Klingon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Some people are now shouting at their listening devices. But let me tell you something. Considering I'm picking these up in mid-story and I'm this engaged already, that's. Granted, it helps. I know a lot of Star Trek history, but these are wonderful. One side note I want to make. So I'll go into my local comic shop, usually like once or twice a month to see what's on the shelf.
B'Elanna Torres.
Thank you, B'Elanna Torres. Because besides DCB service, I still get the thrill of buying stuff off the rack. Everything is $5 now.
Yes.
Almost. And it just reminded me of how old I am now, that basically they're now marketing these floppies to me because, speaking especially as a teacher, no young person, believe me, is buying $5 floppy comics.
But they are searching read comics online free.
Yes.
And then finding whatever bootleg site they can find on the internet and using their pop-up blocker to not have to worry about pop-ups, and then reading things completely bootleg.
You wouldn't know anything about that, honey.
I would not. Well, I mean, frankly, I don't have to do that because I'm at the point now where I'm completely digital, Marvel Unlimited, DC Infinite.
Yeah.
Like that's it. 3 months behind on Marvel Unlimited, 1 month behind, 1 month behind, 1 month behind on DC Infinite. It can't be simpler than that.
Yeah, I was telling you on our way here that I'm going to moving more and more towards just buying certain trades because I have nothing. I'm not like a get off my lawn type. I don't have a problem with technology moving forward in most cases, but I just never really got into reading books digitally. I mean, I've done it. I've done it for the show many times, for example, but I still like the feel of the paper, but not at $5.
No, that's perfectly
I
fair.
realize, $5 isn't what it used to be, but, even as I said, I know myself, I'm still going to go into the shop at least once a month and buy something off the rack because I just have to. So there's that. Now, this is exciting. Free Comic Book Day, I got Conan the Barbarian, which is a preview for the new Conan series from, I think, the publisher. Well, it's Titan, working with Heroic Signatures.
Okay.
And this was superb. So the Conan, it's a new Conan story starting at the beginning of Conan's adventures. When he leaves, would you say Cimmeria, Mert, or Samaria?
I use the soft C, Cimmeria.
Okay.
I don't know if that's right, but that's what I've always done.
So they give you a great map of the kingdoms of the world of Conan, going back to Robert E. Howard, and it's just him as a young man leaving Samaria for his adventures. Writing by Jim Zub. Rob De La Torre does look at this art. It is so in the keeping of one of the great Conan artists, John Buscema. He's clearly inspired Buscema's work. It's beautiful artwork.
Yeah.
I've always been a Conan fan, like a casual Conan fan throughout my life. This was wonderful. I mean, like Buscema was clearly inspired by Hal Foster's artwork on Prince Valiant, for example. And you see that also come through here in the Conan work. In this book, it's stunning. So if you've missed Conan or you want to get back to Conan, hunt down the Free Comic Book Day issue. You won't be disappointed. Superb.
It took him no longer being with Marvel to be a little bit more Conan, basically.
That's right, because Marvel got the license back after Dark Horse did great stuff with Conan. Yeah. Fantastic.
And then Marvel made him an Avenger.
Right, those Savage Avengers. I didn't read any of those stories.
Yeah.
Fury #1.
Ooh, I'd love to get your thoughts on this one. Yep.
Now, all that mattered to me was that Al Ewing wrote. And I love Nick Fury. Now, this what's great about this, I really enjoyed this. So, Murray, you'll appreciate this. It goes into the history of Scorpio.
Yes, I will. Yeah. And I have this in Stone Harbor right now.
Is it on the fabled nightstand?
Not yet. It's just on one of various piles. But it was in my last shipment from DCBS, and
terrific. So it starts with the Sam Jackson Nick Fury. So Nick Fury's in the Comic Con, his son,
Junior.
Yep. And look at this opening page, which is such a Steranko tribute.
Ooh. Which is in turn a Will Eisner tribute.
Yep, exactly.
Show that to the camera, sir.
Who is Scorpio?
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. So they're bringing the Scorpio concept to the present, but then what they do is they take you through different eras of Nick Fury's history, both, and meaning the original Nick Fury, in addition to his son.
So Howling Commando, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., Man on the Wall.
Now you have, this is it's Tom Rainey? Tom Riley.
Okay.
Look at the Silver Age of this.
Ooh.
It's just beautiful.
Yep, that's pretty Steranko-esque too.
Yeah, so they have a Nick Fury adventure, in the heyday of the 60s.
Wasn't that essentially weren't they supposed to be creating the issue that was never published? Because I thought I heard something about how there was an issue of Nick Fury Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that was advertised but then never released.
Oh, that I'm not sure of, actually. I can't answer that.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like this is very much a Steranko type panel.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, like this one right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Beautiful stuff. But listen to the introduction to this. It's so Stan Lee, 1960 S.H.I.E.L.D. The first man on the moon. Who will it be? An American? A Russian? The fate of nations rests on the answer, on a single name every human being on Earth will know, and they will all be wrong. For even now, Nick Fury waits impatiently in the Compu command capsule, so Silver, to be the second man on the moon. As the seconds tick away in a countdown to the impossible, and then there's an actual countdown. This could come right out of like 1967.
Oh, absolutely.
It's fantastic. Then you have, and then there's the classic Scorpio of the 1960s there. Great stuff. Then you have, again, the psychedelia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
Which is, very in keeping with that time period.
Absolutely.
This is a great one shot. Very much worth the money. Then you have Nick in World War II with his friend who was the other parachutist who appeared in the Marvels project. Is it Red Hargrove? You know what I'm talking about, Murd?
I don't.
Yeah.
Nick Fury, whether with S.H.I.E.L.D. or with the Howlers, was never my favorite. So
I'll go back to my spotlight.
Episode 1815, right, spotlight on Nick Fury here in this very studio.
Yes.
Back on July 21st, 2021.
So this issue is drawn by Adam Kubert.
Oh, wow.
Like, this is a great one shot. Like they really loaded this up.
Yeah.
So, there's great, Adam Kubert art that you can see there. So I can't recommend this enough. I devour this because I've loved Nick Fury since I was a kid. I was always taken in by the mystique of Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. and all that.
And this was the 60th anniversary of Nick Fury.
So this is wonderful.
Yep.
And then they take you into Nick as the man on the wall with the Watcher, so the present day. And then they tie it all together, bringing him back in with his son. I won't give away what happens, but this is, one shots can be hit or miss. This was $6. It's worth it. This is a really good one shot, and it's transitional, so it's not like it's a series. But they're established at the end where Nick Fury is going. Both of them are going forward. Yeah. In the Marvel history.
I will definitely be reading that on really Marvel Unlimited when it's available. Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Holy crap, this was fun.
Oh, wow. The War Across Time.
The last two issues, 4 and 5 issue miniseries. So this is Paul Levitz for the first time.
Yes.
Working for Marvel.
For Marvel. Now,
and Alan
Davis on the art.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah. What's great about this is it's an in between the panels. We all love those.
Yes.
Type story. Look at the Silver Age dots. In the figures, right? And it's a story involving someone we just talked about in a previous episode, Kang.
Yes.
So,
and he's looking very helmety.
Yes, I know you appreciated it, Ian. So it's a great Silver Age Kang story. Look at that's so Alan Davis the way he draws Captain.
Oh my God.
For Alan Davis.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yep.
So anybody who loves a Marvel Silver Age, Alan Davis, like Murd, you will devour this story. You have this yet?
I have it.
I figured. Yeah. Like, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yep. Come on.
Amazing.
Yep. I'm looking.
Yep. So that was a delight.
Oh,
holy crap! Is this good?
You got Superman Lost.
So yes, Priest with his partner from his great Deathstroke series. I always forget his name. Forgive me. The artist Carlos. I'm going to butcher his name. My apologies. Pagulayan. Murd, you want to take a better stab at that?
Carlo Pagulayan?
Probably better. Yep. So the conceit of this story is that it starts off Superman and Lois are together, present day. And he vanishes for a moment, and then he returns, but he's actually been gone for decades. And he's so far out in space, it takes him, I think it's like 20, 25 years for him to get back.
Wow.
And the story is Priest taking you through his quest to get home. So it's Christopher Priest and Carlos Pagulayan, forgive me, chronicling that adventure. It's awesome. I read issues 1 through 3, and everybody knows I'm a slobbering Priest fan,
Yeah.
but even I can acknowledge what Priest stories are better than others. This so far is excellent. This is top flight.
Some of my favorite Superman stories involve when he has disappeared suddenly and is lost in space or or in another location for a long period of time,
Yeah.
and absolutely very little time has passed in the real world.
So
Yeah.
it's exciting that I'm really excited at this point in my reading life about 2 Superman comics
Mhm.
simultaneously, which is great.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying.
Not to mention that Tom Taylor's Jonathan Kent series has been really.
I read the
really
first
good.
issue of that. I have
Yep.
to catch up. That was excellent too.
Yep.
I read the first issue.
Mhm.
Yeah. Good calling. Ian.
Yep.
Have you tried Priest's Black Adam maxi series?
Yes, and I will talk about that when I finish it because it's almost done.
Okay.
I've been enjoying that thoroughly as well. That I think though is going to read better as a trade.
Okay.
That's been my experience with that so far. But yes, I'll come back to that.
Yeah, baby. We can both talk about this one.
This
Yep.
is this is
Yeah.
Titans
top
Titans
flight.
number 1.
Wow.
Yep, from
Wow.
Tom Taylor, who's been writing that Nightwing book we're also enthused
And-
about.
And artwork by the one, the only, the amazing Nicholas Scott.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So like look at the tower.
Oh,
Well.
that new tower they have in Bloodhaven is one of my favorite designs for a Titans tower we've gotten so far.
It's part Titans Tower and part Wayne Foundation building, like
Mhm.
Batcave 2.
Yep.
So it's since the events of Dark Crisis, Nightwing is like the leader of the DC universe, essentially, like of the heroes, and he's now stepped up. The Titans are now appropriately, since they're all adults, are now like stepping in for the Justice League.
Yep.
As the premier team. And I think he would agree. This first issue does not disappoint.
This first issue is, it's funny. It's a Titans issue. This is one of my favorite Justice League issues that I've read in recent memory because essentially, as you say, Chris, they are the Justice League for now. Like the Justice League has stepped aside for the next generation to take over, and I feel like Tom Taylor gets down a team dynamic better than very few others have. And yes, of course, who mentioned, yes.
Titano.
Yep.
And we get to see Gar Logan turning into a giant kaiju beast to fight him.
As he tries to destroy a nuclear reactor.
Oh, absolutely. plus the main mystery of the issue, I won't give away for anybody who hasn't read it, but it's certainly going to lead to some very interesting stories moving forward. And also, one of the things that happens in the issue that I will mention is that they try to recruit Tempest, and Aqualad, and Aqualad shoots them down, basically saying that he's working with somebody else.
Yep.
And we don't know who that somebody else is yet. And is this someone else trying to fill the Justice League void? Has Tempest gone rogue and to the dark side? We don't know, but something's being
main concern Atlantis, right?
Exactly. So it's going to be some really interesting stories to come, and this first issue does not disappoint in any way.
Tom, tell us what a writer he's become.
Outstanding. Absolutely outstanding.
I mentioned this last time, but I've read more issues. Dead Romans. I read just 1 through 3. This is superb. First of all, look at this artwork.
Oh my God! Wow.
That is
something else.
Beautiful artwork.
Yep.
So the writer is Fred Kennedy. Stunning artwork by Nick Marinkovic. So it takes place. This is the early Imperium. So Augustus is the emperor. He's the emperor who was the adopted heir of Julius Caesar, who defeated Cleopatra and Mark Antony in the final Roman Civil War. And he became the first, although he wouldn't have called himself this, but he was the first emperor of the Roman Empire. And the story is based on historical events where one of the greatest defeats in Roman military history, where Roman legions were tricked into marching into a forest in what today is Germany. And the Romans often used auxiliary forces to supplement their own, like people who came from the areas they conquered So there are many Germanic warriors who were on their side. And one of them, these are all people from the history, I believe it's Arminius, who actually betrayed them led them into this devastating ambush that wiped out, I think, 3 Roman legions. Now, our legion was about 5,000 men, but 15,000 Roman soldiers, almost all of them were wiped out, along with their various camp followers in this ambush. That's history. So the story is about a German woman who is like a concubine of one of the Roman generals, who was loyal to them, and how she's trying to make her way through this sort of this prolonged, agonizing ambush. It goes on over a period of time. And let me tell you, the first 3 issues are absolutely gripping. I mean, I love it because I love the history, but it's also a really compelling story because it's about this woman. I mean, Ian has some dazzling artwork. The artwork in this book is dazzling.
It's really dazzling. Really nice. Yeah.
And she's trying to navigate the treacherous sort of political shoals of this situation. Very impressed with this. That's Shadowline Image, and $3.99.
That is a good price point these days.
All right, a couple more things. Some manga into it.
Why? Yes, we should, because I really want to read that. So, what do you think? By the way, Shigeru Mizuki's Hitler is what he's holding up right now.
Shigeru Mizuki has done the classic Showa series of manga on the history of the Showa. The Showa is the reign of the Emperor Hirohito, the Japanese history, which are amazing. He also did a book I can't recommend enough called Onward Towards Our Noble Deaths. He was a soldier in the Imperial Japanese Army in World War II. And it's basically a memoir in manga form of his experience as a soldier in the Pacific. It is gut wrenching because, you know, he approaches his experiences in the war with a very critical eye. He doesn't look back on it with a sense of, you know, blind loyalty, for example. And he really dives into the brutal conditions he experienced. Any student of World War II, and especially the Pacific War, that's a book I highly recommend. Now, I've been reading a lot about Adolf Hitler because as I'm writing my World War II podcast. And anyone who wants to really learn about Hitler but doesn't want to read, you know, the tomes that I'm reading, you know, that are historical works.
Yeah.
This is an excellent starter. And let me tell you, he really knows the history. He takes you through Hitler's life. And what's great about his artwork is that, let me find a good example of it here. He'll draw people in the foreground in a more typical stylized manga way. But then in the background, he has, you know, beautiful, let's look, for lack of a better term, more realistic renderings, like, you know, these scenes in Berlin, for example, things like that. So I'm about halfway through this. The only thing a little off-putting, it's not a negative, just his style. When he has people talk, they often talk to each other in a way that's very almost simplified. So like if you and I were chatting, like that's the way he has like Adolf Hitler talking to like Mussolini. I don't really think it's necessarily realistic, but it's not really a dig because he clearly has a grasp of the history and the sweep of what's going on in the context. And again, anybody who's interested in Adolf Hitler and at that period, this is a great book, and I can't recommend enough. Ian, you'd love it. Okay. Now, let me talk about my greatest disappointment of the month.
Oh boy, here we go.
But to contrast it with my greatest satisfaction.
Okay.
Should I do disappointment first or satisfaction?
Let's get the disappointment out of the way because I want to talk about that myself. So, yes.
Amazing Spider-Man 25. Ian has it up.
26. Yep, 25 and 26. Yep.
So, many listeners know I love the character. I've done many spotlights on the character. I love the supporting cast. I love Spider-Man. Always have since
and you'll know that both of us have been enjoying Zepwell's run up
very
until
much
now. Yeah.
So this to me is the ultimate example of why when you have properties captive to corporations, what happens over time is you just drain everything out of them. And I was excited by this because I was like that Wells is doing something really engaging. What did Peter do? And I thought, okay, did Peter Parker screw up so badly that did he compromise himself in some way that he lost the support of many of the people in his life? Like, what did he do? So what he did really wasn't that in the grand scheme of things that big of a deal. Like
I can't believe he stole that bag of chips.
Yeah, like he did it. He did it because he had to help somebody else.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, did he like tell some awful lie? Did he like betray people? No. So that was disappointing. But again, 50 years old and I'm reading Spider-Man as a little boy. I should have known better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the death, if you want to call it that, which I won't spoil for people who haven't read it. But
even though Marvel spoiled it 2 weeks before it was out. Yeah.
At this point, it's so obviously disingenuous. It's so obviously not going to stick because the character they killed has a movie coming out.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed by these, and I shouldn't have been because I should know better. I'm done with this series.
Okay. Wow.
I love Spider-Man, but I've been there before so many times, and let me further my explain disappointment by now going to my satisfaction.
Well, hold on. Before you do, I need to touch on this whole thing at least a little bit, and I fully admit that I haven't actually read issue 26 all the way through.
Okay.
I've read part of it, and what I will say is we have come to a point now where death is meaningless.
Yes, absolutely.
And I hate that because there's no finality. And we all know that with comic books that whenever any character of any import dies, they are going to eventually come back, unless their names are Marvel or Uncle Ben. And that's it. Because even Aunt May came back. Like no one is dead for long when it comes to superheroes.
Well, the original Gwen is dead.
Well, yeah, but if you're doing it for pure shock value, then just don't do it.
Well, it's not shocking anymore.
But that's just it.
Yeah, there's no shock value at all.
If you are crafting a story where the only way that you feel that you are going to get a response is by killing a character that we all know is not going to stick, do not do it.
But that's the thing, Ian. They were getting a response. I was buying the books.
But that's just it.
Because I was so engaged with Peter's been isolated, like he's cut off from all his support. Even Aunt May seems kind of distant. Like, what the hell did he do?
Right.
And when they revealed what he did, I was like, okay, well, I kind of get why he did what he had to do. And you understand, like, I just found the whole thing very deflating.
No, I know. Yeah. But then also shoehorning in a character. I mean, again, we're not going to say who the character is. You can find that out on your own, but shoehorning in a character that is not a regular member of the Amazing Spider-Man
not at all
cast, and then having a death that is essentially meaningless. And for a character that really did not deserve treatment of this sort in any way, it's just.
I was frankly,
it's bullshit.
I'm not surprised that they did the typical shock value, anti-shock value death, but I was surprised they chose that character.
I agree.
I mean, they're not going to stay dead.
No,
but anyway, okay.
It's Psylocke and Crimson Dawn all over again. I mean, again, bringing it back to what I mentioned on the time bubble. It's like, oh, Psylocke is dead. Psylocke comes back 3 issues later, and she's perfectly fine without any real explanation. Like, I feel like that is essentially the type of situation that they're setting up here. That she's going to come back, and it's going to be very little changed except possibly power set, but that's beside the point. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah,
that's it.
You want to say something, Mert? I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah.
So again, I don't mean to sound too bitter because I'm not.
Yeah.
It's just comics. It's just that at this point, especially as you know, your time is limited.
Yeah.
I want to read stuff that is really going to move me and have an impact on me. And I'm just not getting it anymore from, let's call it the corporate captive properties.
Luckily, there are books like this.
There's the Blue Flame.
Blue Flame. Yeah.
Vault Comics. So I've been reading about Christopher Cantwell in this program for the past couple of years. This is his creator-owned concept. That's important right off the bat. Art by Adam Gorman, colorist Kurt Michael Russell, letterer Hassan. I'm gonna butcher this. I apologize. Murd, go ahead.
Well, the font's a little hard to read, but
it doesn't help.
Hassan Atsmani El Hadu.
You're probably correct. So, Murd recommended this to me. I think it came in single issues a couple of years ago.
It was kind of sporadically
sporadic,
published. It took longer to get out 9 issues than it should have.
Yeah, and I read the first issue, then I lost track of it. So I said I'll wait for the trade, and that luckily they printed the whole story in one collection. So this book is why I read comics. Like, this is an example of why I still read comics as a 50-year-old man.
Mm-hmm.
For my whole life.
Yeah.
It's a superhero comic, but it's a superhero comic that is very much couched in our world in many ways. But it also has, to use one of Shane's favorite words, has a fantastical side to it as well. Have you read the story, Murd?
Well, the first couple issues, yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know how it ends.
Then I won't spoil. I'm glad you mentioned that. But essentially, the Blue Flame is this HVAC repairman who forms a team of vigilantes called the Night Brigade.
It's a little like the Mystery Men.
Yes.
Which, secured my affection right away.
You got me.
And they're appearing at a convention, and there's a mass shooting event. And the Blue Flame is injured. And what struck me first about this story, and I can't praise Cantwell enough for doing this, and the team working with him. It does not turn away from one of the greatest plagues in our society today, which is gun-related violence.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get in a soapbox here. That's not this type of program. But what I will say is he takes you through the ordeal that this superhero, who's now just a man who's been shot, and how he's trying now to put his life back together and recover from the devastating injuries he's endured, and the impact it has on him, on his sister he's kind of estranged from, his sense of himself as a hero, what happens to his fellow heroes. This is one of the most moving books I've read in quite some time, because the other side of it is another version of himself as the Blue Flame is summoned into this other galaxy where he's meant to stand as like a defense attorney for the fate of the human race by this other alien race. And so you have two parallel stories. You have the Blue Flame earthbound, trying to like recover both physically and emotionally from this devastating injury he's experienced. And then you have the Blue Flame as like cosmic defender of Earth, acting as our attorney, essentially. And what's wonderful is you're not sure if the cosmic thing is actually happening, or is it in his head as part of his recovery and healing process.
Yep, there is a definite tension between levels of reality going on there.
And I read this in one day. I couldn't put it down. Very few comics the big two, Marvel and DC, produce can shine the shoes of this book. Like this is, we talk about how when a creator owns their own property, they're free to then really explore the possibilities of the concept. The Blue Flame is the paragon of that. I mean, this is, I know I'm really being, hyperbolic here, but this book is superb. I was deeply moved by it. Cantwell refusing to turn away from, the twisted affliction our country is going through right now with this gun culture, and he really explores the impact of the mass shooting, not just on the victims, but also the person who committed the shooting too. And he brings him into the cosmic side of it as well. Book of the year, Murd. This is what it's all about, folks.
That makes me very happy that there was a very high positive to go with the because slightly more negative.
I love Spider-Man, but these characters, oftentimes they're compromised because by
corporate direct,
the capitalist imperative that is behind them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that leads to stories that are just not really that satisfying. This is Cantwell. Like, this is clearly his vision. And it is uncompromising. And anyone who loves the medium should read this book.
Well, you know what visions I like? air harps.
Ah! I'm feeling better now.
Man! We're in its presence.
Oh, look at that.
See how the fluffy clouds move by.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, it isn't time once again
Enjoy this.
for Muddle the Murd here on Comic Geek Speak. And the Murd will explain more on just what we're talking about.
Okay, we are talking about comic book trivia here, folks. And it's also a chance for some audience participation because the comics trivia questions in question are submitted by you, the listeners. So if you'd like to play along with Muddle the Murd, what you got to do is come up with 3 comics trivia questions, a Marvel one, a DC one, and a question about the comics of a third publisher. You got to make sure that one of them is about comics pre-1970. One of them is about comics between 1970 and 2000 inclusive, meaning that the years 1970 and 2000 are part of that range. And 1/3 question about comics post 2000. So come up with 3 questions like that to make sure you include the answers. Try not to ask questions that go into too microscopic a level of detail, and don't ask questions about stuff other than the stories. Just focus on plot and character, if you will. Don't ask about advertisements or letters pages or stuff like that. And you got to email them to comicgeekspeak@gmail.com with Muddle the Murd in the subject line, where they will be found in that inbox. And they will be asked to me by Ian, because I am the Murd you are attempting to muddle. Indeed. And if I get all 3 of your questions wrong, if I cannot answer a single one correctly, you will have muddled the Murd, and then I will be forced to mail you a fantastic prize.
Yes, and that prize
is not present.
No, it is not.
Because I took it with me to Stone Harbor and forgot to bring it with me back to the studio tonight. But I can tell you that it is a book. It is, I forgot the title and artist name both, but it is a scholarly recollection of the historical relationship between the comics industry and Hollywood from its earliest days through roughly the year 2000.
I remember you mentioning this at last attempt. So yes,
what year I didn't hear that? I'm sorry.
About the year 2000, about when the Spider-Man and X-Men movies started coming out.
A very, very fascinating book when you were discussing it, and I was very, very interested in it when you were talking about it. I, however, am disqualified from Muddle the Murd, so I cannot win it, but it sounded wonderful.
But it's a topic that should be of interest to most people listening to this. So
yes.
It's a prize worth trying for.
And speaking of trying, by the way, please submit your Muddle the Murds. I mean that sincerely and from the bottom of my heart. We have about 4 left in the queue after this. And we want to make sure that we are able to ask these whenever we have the opportunity to do so, whether it be on a comic talk or an episode that we have time to ask the questions for. So yes, please get your Muddle the Murd submissions in there, and you will get a chance to win a prize just as awesome as that, possibly when it is your turn in the queue. So get those submissions in, people, just like Jerry Harrington did. And he has this to say first. Dear Geeks, I trust a contestant who has muddled the Murd once, having done this in November 2022, is allowed another chance to do so again. This I will attempt, but now with a theme. As a reader and collector of comic books for over 60 years, I have encountered the sublime and artistic, the latter with a capital A. I have also read the mundane, much more common. But the theme of my 3 muddle questions deals with another category, those decisions by comic editors, publishers, or writers that have caused me pain, agony, and grief. This is an excellent follow-up to Amazing Spider-Man issue 26. I highlight choices by comic makers resulting in sleepless nights, fists slamming on tabletops, and the wailing and gnashing of teeth. Perhaps you geeks share these moments of misery. My lord. We begin with Whale number 1, DC pre-1970. Here we go.
Whale number 1.
All right, here we go. The series Dead Man premiered in DC Strange Adventures number 205, cover date of October 1967. Follows the exploits of Boston Brand, trapeze artist who was murdered, but whose spirit was allowed to exist on Earth. His special talent was his ability to enter living beings and temporarily possess them. Dead Man's adventures continued up to issue 216, when the series was abruptly canceled amidst the ongoing story flow. The tale even had a next issue banner at the end promising an episode entitled The Balance of Power. But in issue 217, there was neither balance nor power, only reprints of Adam Strange and the Atomic Knights. As a young fan of the series, I was stunned and distressed, and I wailed, "Where was Deadman?" I guess he was dead. This series is best known for the innovative artwork of a young Neil Adams, offering readers groundbreaking panel compositions with imaginative, realistic artistry. However, Adams was not the original artist for Deadman in the premiere issue Strange Adventure number 205, written by Arnold Drake, and in some citations given credits for layouts. Who was the main artist in the first Deadman story?
Oh, crap. I was hoping he was building up to Arnold Drake, because that I could have answered. I remember seeing him at a Comic-Con years ago. He had a T-shirt on that said, "I'm Deadman's daddy." Boy, though.
Good question.
Yeah. Jerry, I love your staging, by the way. This is superb.
What a great setup.
All right. I'm going to go with the name that's popping into my mind here. I don't even know why. Murphy Anderson.
The correct answer, Carmine Infantino.
Oh.
Yep.
I can easily see how that would be an Infantino design. Yeah.
Yep. Very, very good question. We move on to whale number 2. Marvel, 1970 to 2000. In the 1990s, the stress and misery lay across much of the comic landscape, with comic businesses, bankruptcies, special comic covers that did nothing but raise issue price, male comic characters drawn with biceps the size of boulders, and female characters with breasts the size of much, much bigger boulders. But no story arc better represents the ultimate reader despair, anguish, and torment there than insert haunting music. The Clone Saga of Spider-Man.
I thought he was going for Avengers: The Crossing.
Oh God, that one's pretty damn bad too. Stretching from late 1994 to the end of 96, this series asked Spider readers to believe they had been following the adventures of a fake clone Spider-Man / Peter Parker for the last 20 years. In addition, it's featured Peter violently hitting Mary Jane, a stillborn delivery scene to wrap up Mary Jane's pregnancy, in one of the cruelest, most heartless scenes I've ever witnessed in comics. And Peter losing his spider powers, with the married pair going off on a trek to Never Never Land. That Never Never Land was called Portland, Oregon, by the way.
I remember that, yeah.
Yes. Readers were asked to accept Ben Reilly as the original Spider-Man, who had returned from riding his motorcycle for 2 decades. And then he rode it over sharks. All of this was contained across all 4 Spider titles, several miniseries, spin-offs, and one-shots. Oh my God. Read the Ben Reilly Chronicles or something like that. There's Life of Reilly. That's what it is. The Life of Reilly, online. Read it. It's a great history of this whole damn thing. All of this was contained across all 4 Spider titles, several miniseries, spin-offs, and one-shots. I know because I bought every damn one of them. I think so did I.
Me too.
All of this was resolved in a 4-part series titled Revelations. Nothing's ever been titled that before. Across the Spider titles, revealing that behind all this fakery was a villain back from the dead, the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn, a character who should have remained dead because he caused the death of the beloved Gwen Stacy.
Totally agree.
You may ask, of these editors and writers, what were they thinking? The answer, they weren't. Amidst this wreckage, I asked a question. In Amazing Spider-Man, issue 407, Ben Reilly, for the first time, takes over as Spider-Man in this main title, marked as The Return of Spider-Man. What Spider-Man foe does he face?
In number 407.
407.
I have to check my records when I get home back to Stone Harbor much later tonight and find out if I actually have this issue. And I've just beat myself up even harder for not getting this right. I'm going to say The Vulture.
Say your prayers, little one. Don't forget my son. You'll include everyone. The answer is the Sandman. Enter Sandman, ladies and gentlemen. Enter Sandman.
Nice insertion there, Ian.
Thank you, Michael.
Nice.
Coming in from the bullpen, Mariano Rivera. All right. And whale number 3, independent post 2000.
One to go.
Which is not exactly my area of expertise.
I think he may have known that. In the 21st century, comic book despair and agony has a name, and it is CrossGen. Ooh. Founded in 1998 by entrepreneur Mark Alessi, CrossGen Comics promise quality comics based by a creative team of seasoned talent, mostly located in a single site in Florida. The initial 4 titles, Mystic, Sigil, Meridian, and Scion, featured non-superhero characters with a common theme.
Scion was a good book.
Indeed. All were given special powers by mysterious sigils from an unknown source. A later title, Sojourn, a magnificent fantasy series with marvelous artwork, was added where the villain was the one possessing a sigil's power. Other titles blossomed. In late 2003 and early 2004, the initial 4 titles ended after more than 40 issues each, and a miniseries started, The Negation War.
Yep.
Jesus. Which promised to finally answer questions of the mysterious sigils and the overall CrossGen megaplot. I eagerly anticipated the story resolution. I'm sure it turned out great. And then the damn company went bankrupt, and the uncompleted miniseries was canceled after 2 issues, along with all the rest of the CrossGen publications. It's a special place in comic book hell for CrossGen's accountants. I was so incensed and angry that I ranted, raved, and yes, wailed for months about this. I got so vocal that my therapist jacked up his hourly rates. But to the question, the Negation War featured in its first issue the only CrossGen sigil bearing character who was a traditional spandex-clad crime-fighting superhero, complete with a secret identity, eyeglasses to hide it, and a fellow worker who suspected his secret. What was this character's superhero name?
Oh, it's a long way to go just to get your book here, friend. I'm not sure I've ever even read a CrossGen comic.
Wow.
Yeah, because I think I've got some issues of Ruse someplace.
Ruse is a good book.
Yeah, it's Mark Waid.
It's all right. Disney bought it for exactly 1 book, which they also then refused to publish more of. So, yeah, good times.
Did they buy it for Ruse?
No, they didn't buy it for Ruse. They bought it for
Abatazad?
Abatazad.
Oh, the
Thank
Mike Plug, J.M. DeMatteis book.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which was a riff on the classic Osborne.
Mhm.
And
You better believe
I
it.
was all on board for that.
Yep.
But that doesn't help me come up with the name of this character. Yeah. It's not going to be as simple as it's not going to be some riff on the name Superman, although what's the Ascendancy?
You know, it's funny. You were on the right track, sir. The correct answer is Mighty Man.
Oh, so it was just that. Okay. And it's also a Eric Larson ripoff
Yep.
on top of all that.
Wow. Man, Jerry, this was so much fun.
Yes, it was.
I loved every single minute of reading that. Thank you very much.
you.
And congratulations. You have successfully muddled the murd.
It's for the second time in a 12-month period, which might be a record.
Yes. So
So
well
we
done.
feel your pain, Mr. Harrington, and I add to it some of my own.
Oh man, job well done all around. That was absolutely terrific. Man, that's a lot of hurt right there. That's a lot of hurt. Especially like, of course he goes Spider-Man hurt because we just talked about Spider-Man hurt.
He started in the Silver Age with Dead Man,
Yeah.
brought all the way up into the 21st century.
And mentioning Neil Adams as well.
yeah.
You know, like this is the perfect muddle to read on this particular comic though.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It really was, yeah.
Fantastic. All right, let's finish it off with some mailbag, shall we? Real quick. We received some lovely postcards in the mail.
Yes, we did. All from a single source, actually. They're all from the family Wheatley. It's our friend Sean, Left Coast Love Wheatley.
Yep.
The first one is dated last year sometime. Here we go. I think this is the first of them anyway. Yeah, this was sent last November on the 5th of November. Gunpowder, Treason, and Plot.
I knew you were going to do that.
Yep. And and the image on it is Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1, first appearance of the Sinister Six,
Love
mentioned on our last episode.
Love it.
And Sean in that one wrote, Geeks loved being a sponsor because we helped him sell some of his stuff.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. I continue to listen and support CGS. Much love. Left Coast Love.
Excellent.
And the other two, let's see, this one from January of this year. It's It's a Spider-Gwen
Spider-Gwen
postcard.
number 1. Yep.
And peace and Left Coast love this new year from Sean, his wife Stacy, and his daughter Parker Jane.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love this one, that Iron Fist sticker. Oh,
And this one is apparently a vacation
Eh,
postcard because it's greetings from Ocean City, New Jersey. And
nice.
probably can't read that on cam, but it's got such landmarks as the First Presbyterian Church, the Holy Trinity Episcopal Church, the First Methodist Church, and the Baptist Church.
Fantastic. So it has churches, you say?
Yeah, I do say that.
How
Yes.
about
yes.
that?
Yes.
Ocean City, New Jersey is a dry town, by the way.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yes, if you want to know of something to distinguish it from Ocean City, Maryland in a big way,
Mm-hmm.
you cannot buy liquor in Ocean City.
Oh,
You
wow.
can buy it right outside the town limits at Circle Liquor Store, like literally beyond just.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
And on the
Kung
back
Fu.
side of it, Kung Fu says Iron Fist on the
Yes.
sticker that John put on there. The Wheatley send love.
oh, thank you.
Fantastic. We love Left Coast Love.
Yep.
He makes everything better.
That's the mailbag.
Yep.
And, I would have something to mention that was sent to me recently from our pal Big Jim Miller up in
Mhm.
Vancouver, but it was left back in Stone Harbor
All right.
along with the Muddle the Murd Prize, which Mr. Jerry Harrington will have mailed to him in short order, I should
Yep.
add. But I'm sorry, Big Jim. I have not forgotten about you. I remember to bring the thing you sent me along to Stone Harbor. I just didn't remember to bring it back. So next time we do one of these, I will absolutely shout it out. And the folks will be able to see it better anyway. I'll be holding it up to the camera on my computer.
Yep.
Okay. And may I mention the one comic book that I brought?
Please, by all means, sir.
I have a stack of one here. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm reading stuff from like early September 2006 right
Oh,
now. So
wow.
I'm up to my first trip to the Baltimore Con that year, which is also, I believe, my first encounter with Ms. Corsetto.
Ah,
Yeah. So I just yesterday read Thor number 316, I think, just classic Marvel Bronze Age team-uppery.
Mm.
It's from 1981. It's Thor and Iron Man versus Bi-Beast and Man-Beast with Man-Thing lurking on the
Oh, that's
sideline.
Bronze Age.
That
for
sounds
sure.
amazing.
Yeah, it was a great.
Okay, Mert, I have to ask a question here. So this book is clearly riffing on an advertisement that appeared in comic books in the Bronze Age?
Oh, yes, this comic that I was about
Wow.
to talk about and that Ian has just put on.
Yes, indeed, because I saw it.
He scooped me. But yes, it's a good segue from our last episode when we were
Wow.
talking about reproductions in your Avengers number 8 repro issue of
Mhm.
old Silver Age ads.
Mhm.
Well, this is a story that spins out of a classic Bronze Age ad.
Love it.
It's an ad for mail order martial arts lessons offered by the in his own description, legendary Count Dante. And now, Scout Comics is publishing this miniseries, which is an unauthorized biographical account of the Count,
Mm.
written by J.C. Barber, and art, inks, and letters by Wes Watson,
Okay.
colors by Paula Goulart. And the title, I mean, I think we've already established that I Hate Fairyland
Yes.
project that Scotty Young has got coming out. It's
Mhm.
got the title of the year.
Yep.
But this has got to be a runner-up because the full title of this is Count Dante, the unauthorized but sort of true story of the deadliest man who ever lived. That cover image you're seeing is Carrie Nord artwork, by
yeah,
the way.
beautiful. I can picture
Excellent,
the
excellent.
advertisements, too.
Talking about great things that Dark Horse did with Conan
Yeah.
back in the 2000s.
right.
That was Carrie Nord artwork there. So he put the cover on this, and it is the story, pretty much fictionalized, but that's appropriate because Count Dante did a lot of self-fictionalization
Mhm.
as one of the characters in here. The framing device is a journalist, like a Chicago area journalist, hunting down one of the Count's closest friends and associates. One Sidney Brown, who got to know the Count before he was the Count when they were both serving in the military in Vietnam. And Sidney Brown says, JT, that is Count Dante, Count Juan Rafael Dante, he legally changed his name from John Timothy Kean.
Yeah.
Just a good old Irish boy from Chicago. But Sidney says, JT and the truth didn't always travel together.
Mhm.
So this story, much like the stories that the Count spun around himself while he was still with us,
Mhm.
it's an American tall tale.
Yeah.
Ah,
Just an American
what a
tall
great-
tale
what a
that
great
was
concept.
composed by its subject. You know,
That the artwork is awesome. I really dig the style of it.
Mhm.
Like it's got a very unique like cartoonish reality to it.
Mhm.
Excellent facial structure as well.
What
Like,
year did this come out, Mert?
This is new.
Oh, it's brand new.
This
Okay.
just came out from
Okay.
Scout Comics. Yeah, it's $4.99.
Okay.
Ah, okay.
But yeah, it's it's a story entertainingly and straightforwardly told. It's about Sidney Brown relating to this journalist, how he first got to know the man who would be Count Dante. And he was a Green Beret, part of a subset of the Green Berets known as the Black Dragons. And much of this is probably BS. You got to understand. That's
just like the
all
advertisements for
part
BS.
of the fun. You got to remember,
yeah.
this is it admits it's only sort of true.
Count Dante was even real.
He was a real person. That
Okay.
we know. But he a real person who called himself
What
Count.
was that an ad for at the very back there, sir?
Oh, you see, because this all kind of spun out of the classic ads that the Count placed in 70s comics,
of course,
offering the mail order martial arts lessons. The comic itself is full of loving parodies of other classic ads. So you got your sea monkeys in here, of course. You got the accident that made a man out of Mac, and the product it's selling is a section of lead pipe that you can use to beat up beach bullies with. My favorite is yard hatchets, again, as opposed to those lawn darts that were the cause of so many casualties. And the thing you guys saw in the inside back page. The continued exploits of Feeble Knievel.
Oh, so good. So good.
Yeah, it's very 70s. It's got a great vibe to it. The art and the storytelling and even the lettering at points, it's evocative of just the martial arts genre in both comics and film. I mean, there's a little bit of like Hong Kong Grindhouse in here.
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit of blaxploitation in here. It's a little bit on the whole. It feels kind of like he's doing like a take on Marvel's Sons of the Tiger, except using real people.
Nice,
more or less.
And Ian has the original ad up on the screen.
Yeah,
right
and
now.
if anybody who has not seen the ads for Count Dante before, oh my god, it's so good.
I have seen those ads too,
sure.
and that it's because of
Bronze Age
that familiarity is what led me to take a chance on this first issue.
It looks like Steven Seagal put on an afro wig.
And a really painful looking expression on his face.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
like he's passing a pineapple.
Outstanding, Bird. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yep.
Definitely.
Bronze Age nostalgia buffs. This one is for you.
Excellent.
It's from Scout Comics.
I have two quickies that I'll mention. One is I read the first issue of the new Scarlet Witch series out from Marvel. Steve Orlando. Yep, Steve Orlando and Sarah Pichelli on the artwork. Not only is it a Scarlet Witch series, but it introduces Darcy from the Thor movies. And from the
bring her into the comics.
Yeah, exactly. And from Vision and Scarlet Witch into the comics officially. And it sets up the Scarlet Witch, like she's trying to settle down. I think they have her in in a suburb of Utica, New York, where she sets up a magic shop. The magic shop setting looks a lot like the magic shop from Buffy. And I'm sure it's intentional in that way. But Darcy is working at the shop, and Scarlet Witch has a door called the Last Door that people can go through when they have absolutely no other choice and they need help. And Scarlet Witch will be the one who helps them. We have an appearance from Quicksilver in this first issue as well. He comes by, and a woman from France walks through the door in need of help because the Corruptor has come to her town and corrupted the entire town, everyone but her, because she has this magic stone that was handed down by her previous generations that makes her impervious to the Corruptor's brainwashing, essentially. And Scarlet Witch heads to the town in France to try to deal with the Corruptor. They try to tune the stone to try to get more people uncorrupted. This woman's wife is also affected, and she's trying to, get her out of it and all that jazz. It's a really awesome first issue with an excellent setup. The new costume. Let me bring up the first the cover for for Scarlet Witch #1. Sarah Pichelli designed a new Scarlet Witch costume that is, I think, probably one of my favorites that she's worn. Probably since the one that George Perez.
I knew it was going to be the Perez one. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. This one right here. Look at that.
Wow.
It works.
Yep. I'll bring it up for the people on the Zoom as well, where it's form fitting, but also a little bit flowy. Has the gypsy roots, while at the same time also incorporate some of her previous costumes into it as well.
Even the one she wore in Force Works.
Yes,
Right.
very good point. Yes. I am all in on this series, and I think I'm gonna be reading it month by month. It's
All right.
really, really good.
Yeah, I gave it a try, and I didn't think I was going to stick with it, but I bought like the first 5 issues so far.
Yeah,
can't put it down.
It's terrific. Yeah, so really, really worth checking out if you're a fan of the Scarlet Witch in
I
any
got
way.
the first trade, buddy.
Yep, I know James Robinson had a good Scarlet Witch series a couple years back.
Well, it would. I'd have liked it better if that weren't the place where they were trying to dispel the connection between Scarlet
enough.
Witch and her brother and Magneto as their father.
Perfectly fair on that one, and I agree with that as well. The other thing that I'll mention is something that's only available on the Unlimited app. If you're a member, Jeremy Adams wrote himself some Avengers. Avengers Unlimited Infinity comic issues 49 and 50.
Unlimited Infinity. Well,
Mhm. I know, Unlimited Infinity. Just let's add as many words as we possibly can to the title. But what I like about the Infinity stuff, and I've mentioned this to you guys before, is that it scrolls down. So like when you're reading it like you would on a phone or what have you, where like the entire issue scrolls downward as opposed to swiping left to right in order to continue on. Jeremy Adams is the writer on this. Alan Robinson is on the pencils and inks. And it's a Rick Jones story tying into our previous episode where Rick Jones came up many a time. In this one, Iron Man and She-Hulk find at Avengers Mountain, their current headquarters, this box that says, "In case of emergency, open me, Rick Jones." And they open the box, and then a whole bunch of aliens start popping out from it until eventually Rick pops out of it. And
Rick.
it turns out Rick was performing a concert to a bunch of aliens in space, and he was attacked. And in the process, a bunch of the aliens who were watching the concert wound up going through this dimensional rift that he has set up in case of emergency. Eventually, he gets through as well. And of course, that villain who's trying to take him out is a Super Skrull. This is the first 2 parts of it. I think it's going to be a 3-part thing total, but issues 49 and 50 of the Infinity comic are part of that. And it's freaking Jeremy Adams. And it's nice to see him do some stuff for Marvel as a change of pace after the DC stuff that he's been working on. Definitely check it out if you have a Marvel Unlimited subscription. It's a lot of fun.
I love a wacky Rick Jones story.
And this is that, definitely. Like at one point, they have to, like, there's a space turtle that pees on Black Panther's bed that they have to try to get, shoo away and stop him from causing more calamity. Like it's a lot of fun. So definitely check that out if you have the Unlimited app. Yep. All right. And one last thing, quick email from Mr. Alan Steinberg, who sent an email into comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. You can send an email into comicgeekspeak@gmail.com if you so desire, if you'd like to get in touch with us. And he had these quick words to say, you guys were essential in getting me through the pandemic. I was born in 1959. To help with the math, I'm 64. And so grew up as a comics reader in the latter years of the Silver Age and the early Bronze Age. I grew up on Lee, Kirby, Buscema, Romita Sr., Roy Thomas, Steranko, Jim Starlin, Neil Adams, and the like. As you can see, much more Marvel than DC. I never completely stopped reading comics as I aged, but went through dry and wet spells. Then came the pandemic, and I found you guys. You were a huge listening experience for me through the years and really helped me through those difficult spaces. You've become my podcast friends, and I genuinely enjoy visiting with you each listen. He asks if any of us are going to be at Heroes Con. That is this weekend as we're recording this.
Usually Father's Day weekend.
Indeed. Yep. And unfortunately, no one officially from the podcast is going to be there. We know a whole bunch of podcast listeners are there, and we hope you're all having a wonderful time. So this will be his first time at Heroes Con, his first for any major con. And he's really looking forward to it.
Yep, Alan, you are in for a treat.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no other convention in the country for our money that still preserves the love of comics exclusively as a medium than Heroes Con does. Some of the others have been seduced by other media, but Heroes Con is still all about the comics. And the shopping is beyond compare, and the FaceTime you get with creators is also a great plus.
Definitely. Yep. And I've always wanted to go. I'd love to go someday. Maybe the time will come, but I am officially going to all 4 days of New York Comic Con this year, by the way, because I secured my badge, so I will be there again. But that is very much a entertainment and comic convention with some good comic stuff.
Yeah.
You are right that Heroes Con is just straight up comics, and that's what's so great about it. He says that, as he said, this will be his first time there. He's really looking forward to it. If any of you are attending, will there be some formal or informal capacity? No, but it's love to introduce myself to you in person. Alan, if you're ever at New York or any other convention that we happen to say that we're going to, please, by all means, feel free to introduce yourselves. And he's from Pittsburgh, PA, and he says, yes, Eidsberg. Unfortunately, I wasn't listening to you when you attended a Pittsburgh con or two many years ago. He was probably there. But yeah, thank you for the kind words, Alan.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And happy to help you through the pandemic, because honestly, the listeners helped us through it too.
Listeners like you are the reasons why we do what we do.
Absolutely. Yep.
I love Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
It's a heck of a town.
Yes, indeed. Gentlemen, I believe that's a bold shot.
Bold shot. We got to get on the road.
Excellent.
Yep.
Fan-damn-tastic.
Yep. There's a couple of long trips that need to be made tonight by certain geeks.
Yes, indeed. Yep. And let me get that credits music ready to roll here. And there we go. Excellent. You can visit us at Comic Geek Speak at Gmail. Sorry, you can email us at comicgeekspeak@gmail.com. Our phone number is 267-702-6642. If you'd like to send us a voicemail, that line is still available. You can check out the video version of this podcast over at youtube.com/comicgeekspeak. Or you can get in on the conversation at the Comic Geek Speak supergroup over at Facebook if you'd like to. Facebook.com/comicgeekspeak is also where we're posting. And twitter.com/comicgeekspeak for any of our various tweets and what have you. We'd like to thank you to all listeners for any support that you give to the show, whether it be Patreon or otherwise. We really, really do appreciate it. And we would not be able to do this without you. And as always, we are uniting the world's mightiest heroes, one listener at a time. Did you proud on the read that time, Shane?